Hello, I'm Mary Noble Parrish. I'm one of the clergy at First United Methodist Church in Dothan. And for today's Good Word message, this week of Thanksgiving, I'd like for us to think about hospitality. What do you think of when I say hospitality? Do you think of getting all dressed up? Do you think of having people in your home, maybe using the good china or good dishes? Well, what we talked about as a staff recently, we were engaged in a learning, teaching, growing opportunity with our Director of Discipleship Ministries, Dr. Phil Maynard, and we were exploring what does it look like to disciple like Jesus. And in that time, we were specifically this day looking at one of the 6 elements or dimensions of discipleship, if you will, and that was a life of hospitality. And in that time, we were looking at what does that life of hospitality mean? And as we live a life of hospitality as disciples, we belong to the body of Christ as we grow in our faith and connect with others. Well, Phil reminded us that the central theme, or a central theme, throughout Jesus's life was that of offering God's hospitality to others. Think about it for a minute. Think about all the people that Jesus spoke to, he ate with, he taught, he healed, he loved, he allowed them to interrupt his time of prayer or movement or teaching or whatever he was doing. For Jesus's life and ministry, his energy all centered around developing relationships, being present with people, whenever, wherever, and with whomever. If you think about it, Jesus' life of hospitality is even more impressive because he didn't have his own home. He didn't have a place to entertain and to host and prepare what he will do when they come over. For Jesus, hospitality was a real-time life moment that happened in the moment. Very rarely did Jesus get to prepare what he was going to do. It was when people would come up, tag on his garment, interrupt him, bring him a need, maybe a healing. He stopped what he was doing and he listened. Well, in our time as a staff with Phil, he shared that hospitality is about welcoming, accepting, and engaging others. Don't we see that that's what Jesus did? He welcomed and accepted and engaged others. Well, Henry Nouwen defines and talks about hospitality as making room for other people in our lives. So welcoming, accepting, and engaging while also making room for others in our lives. That's the life of hospitality that Jesus did. But I don't know about you. My hospitality, my life of hospitality doesn't always look like that. Sometimes I really struggle to be welcoming. Sometimes I struggle to accept and to engage. Well, years ago, I was serving in an appointment where a dear person brought me an article about Scruffy hospitality. Well, the title alone got my attention because those words don't usually go together, scruffy and hospitality, not at least in my mind of hospitality. But what I learned through this article, and also what I learned through this person who just so graciously adapted this as part of her life, that scruffy hospitality is living in the moment, being in ministry, meeting people where they are, giving your whole self regardless of what's going on, regardless if the house is dusted and vacuumed, regardless if you have the best meal to offer, regardless if life is going crazy or not. Being present in that moment, being intentional to connect and develop a relationship with someone. What I realized recently is scruffy hospitality is welcoming, accepting, and engaging and making room for somebody, no matter what's going on. And friends, that's exactly what Jesus did all throughout his life. His life of hospitality, I believe it was scruffy hospitality. It was not focused on where he was going and what he was going to do and what was on his to-do list. It was who was in front of him in that moment. Who was he welcoming? Who was he engaging? Who was he accepting and making room for? That's the kind of hospitality I strive for. That's the kind of hospitality I want to live. So think for a minute. I'd like to close with this. Who besides Jesus has welcomed you? Who besides Jesus has engaged you and accepted you? Who, besides Jesus, has made room for you? Well, my goal for myself and my goal for you is, may we be people who welcome, engage, accept, and make room for others. May we extend scruffy hospitality to those around us who cross our paths, and thereby may we belong to the body of Christ. Blessings to you.